Roll for Crit presents how to play The Arrival in 5 minutes or less or more. In The Arrival, you'll play a tribe leader in ancient Ireland trying to become its new leader, and also there are demons, designed by Martin Wallace and published by Cryptozoic. There are 2 possible victory conditions in The Arrival, each measured by one of 2 tracks. The Honor Points track, these are victory points and you want them, and the Corruption track. Corruption is bad and you want to be lower on this track than your opponents. You'll have to keep both tracks in mind while playing, just in case. Each player will receive a set of tokens in their player color, plus a tribe leader card either with its basic side showing or advanced side with a special player ability. Then, starting with the last player and going counterclockwise, everyone gets to place one of their building discs at an empty port on the board, marked with this anchor symbol. You also get a player marker at the 4 spot on the Honor track and the 0 spot of the Corruption track. Then the game begins. The first phase of the game is the Earnings phase, which all players go through simultaneously. You'll see 3 piles of cards with a variety of symbols on their backs. In turn order, each player chooses 1 card at a time until everyone at the table has 4, face down in front of them. These cards will give you resources to use later on, and the backs of the cards indicate which types of resources you're most likely to get from said cards. You can pick whichever ones you're interested in from any of the 3 decks. Once everyone has their 4 cards, you'll flip over the first 2, maintaining the order that you got them in. Now, on each card you'll see 3 different rows. Each row indicates multiple resources. At the end of the Earnings phase, you'll be receiving all of the resources indicated in one of these 3 rows, but you don't get to see everything right away. You need to make some early decisions based on what you think or hope will show up on the cards. So you're going to have 2 blocker pieces. After revealing your first 2 cards, you'll take one of them and place it on a row that you're sure you're not interested in. Then you'll flip your 3rd card and do the same thing with your 2nd blocker. Finally, flip your 4th card. Now, whichever row is left that you did not mark with a blocker, that's the one you'll get your resources from for this round. Keep in mind, the bottom row will have the least amount of resources available, while the top row will have the most, but will also give you more corruption points, so it's riskier. Now gather your resources based on the symbols on your cards. There are buildings, swords, shields, tactic tiles, honor, and corruption points. Tactic tiles have special abilities that will come into play later on. They come from this pile, and 6 of them will be shown face up each round. In turn order, any player who received tile symbols gets to choose and take the appropriate amount from here to a maximum of 6. Once they're finished, the face-up tiles get filled up again to 6 from the tile stack. Other resource tokens are handed out accordingly. Honor and corruption track stats are updated, and for each corruption point you gained, you also get a face-down demon token. This is what you'll have to work with this round. Your earning cards are now discarded. Now it's time for the action phase. For the very first turn, everyone only gets to take 1 action, but for the rest of the game, each player gets to take 2 actions at a time, which could be the same or different, before handing it off to the next player. Your available actions are: Build. Place a building disc somewhere on the board. You can build in an adjacent location to one of your previously existing buildings, or onto any port space if you already have a building on another port space, or on a space adjacent to an opponent's building disc if you spend 2 honor points. You can also build on top of one of your existing buildings, stacking up to 3 discs there, making that building stronger for later. Repel. This action lets you take on the demons known as Fomori using your sword tokens. Each Fomori has a number at the bottom indicating how many sword tokens you must spend in order to defeat it. You can repel a Fomori if it is at a space adjacent to one of your buildings, or in the same province as one of your buildings, or if it's at any port and you also have a building at a port, or if it's adjacent to an opponent's building and you spend 2 honor points. Upon its defeat, you choose a reward from one of the top corners of the Fomori token, either gaining honor points or losing corruption points. Then the piece is discarded. At the top of the board are Balor's castle tokens, which work in the same way, but are stronger, and go into your personal collection after being defeated. You also need to take out the Fomori on top of the castle before going after the castle itself. Spread. This action allows you to take your own Fomori tokens and move them onto the board. Simply place 1 from your supply at any location adjacent to another demon or castle token. Your demons are face down until placed on the board, so you won't know exactly what you're getting until it's out there. In addition to the 1 token you're placing on a location, you'll also need to discard an additional demon from your supply for each shield token present in that region, and for each building disc present on the location you're moving into. So you can use the spread action to destroy other players' buildings if you have enough Fomori tokens to spend to get rid of their buildings first. You cannot take this action to destroy shields or buildings if you don't have enough demons to place one in the appropriate location once you're finished. The shield action lets you place one shield token onto a region you have a building in. Each region has a number indicating how many shields it can hold at a time, and these shields protect each building in the region regardless of which player placed it there originally. You can also use tactic tiles on your turn, which does not take up one of your 2 actions. Tactic tiles have various effects, such as giving you a number of points for each building in a certain region, or removing some of your corruption. These can be traded in at any time. If you've got a castle tile, you can use it to place 3 of your Fomori face down back into the general supply. And finally, you can pass as long as you've already spread all of your available demon tokens somewhere onto the board. Then you can save up to 3 of your unused resource tokens and discard the rest. Once everyone has passed, you'll start a new round with a new earnings phase, and whoever passes first is the new first player. The game can end in one of 2 ways, either after a certain number of rounds are complete, or when 1 or more players reach a certain number on the corruption track. If this happens, then the game continues until the end of that round. Next, you check out the board state. If there are more player buildings than demon tokens visible on the board, then the player with the most honor points wins. You get honor points at the end of the game for each fortification you have on the board, each one worth the number of points indicated by the region it's in, plus 1 point for every 3 resources you have left over. However, if there are more demons than fortifications, then honor doesn't matter. The win simply goes to the player with the lowest amount of corruption points. You also get to lower your corruption by 1 point for every 3 resources you have left, but provinces don't matter. In conclusion, earn, build, fight, spread, honor, corrupt. That's the Arrival in a nutshell. Did you get all that?